Well, Tata Motors has hit the production milestone of 5 million passenger cars today, incidentally on the day that marks the birth anniversary of Tata Group founder Jamshed Tata. What's more, the auto giant has produced 1 million of these cars in the last 2 years alone, even as it weathered the pandemic crisis and the semiconductor shortage. To talk more about the automaker's landmark in the passenger vehicle segment, its plans for electric mobility and the key challenges facing the industry, we're joined by Shailesh Chandra, the Managing Director of Tata Motors Passenger Vehicles, exclusively with me here on the record. Shailesh, many thanks for joining us here on the show, and congratulations on hitting that 5 million production number. I was just taking a look at the trajectory. The first million was recorded in 2004, the second million in 2010, 3 million in 2015, and 4 million in 2020. So, Shailesh, here in 2023, what's the target that you're setting?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Shireen, and happy to be on your show. It has been a momentous occasion for us, hitting this 5 million mark, and thanks for sharing the number of years that we took for every million. Yes, the last 1 million has happened in the fastest period of time, less than 3 years, actually exactly 2.5 years, as compared to 5 to 6 years that we took for the previous millions. As far as future is concerned, I think we have a very strong foundation of where we have reached in terms of our performance. In this financial year, we are hoping to cross 500,000, which means there is already a certain run rate that we have achieved. And I'm sure that the next 5 million, with the growth that we have in the electrification area, the new models that we showcased in the Auto Expo, with all that expanded portfolio that we'll have in very relevant segments which are going to grow fast and big in size, I'm sure that the next 5 million should happen in maybe less than 8 years is what I hope.
Okay, the next 5 million in less than 8 years, that is what you're expecting, Shailesh. But, you talked about that 500,000 number that you're hoping to clock by the end of FY23. So no hiccups there at all? You believe that you will be able to get there?
We would have already rolled out by now 500,000. By Feb, we would be left with about 4,000-5,000 to cross the 500,000 mark. So I'm sure we should be much beyond that number of 500,000 as we end this financial year.
Okay, so ahead of that number by the end of this financial year. You talked about your electric mobility pipeline as well as the electric mobility plans and also the expansion of the portfolio. So let me ask you today, in terms of both greenfield capacity addition as well as brownfield capacity addition and the current utilization rates, where do you stand today, and what kind of capacity addition can we expect given the portfolio enhancement that you're working with?
See, we already have a capacity from the existing facilities, which is the 3 facilities that we have, one in Pune and the earlier one in Sanand, and the new one which we have acquired right now is the new one. But if I leave that aside, and one we have in Ranjangaon, which is a joint venture with Fiat, if you know. So these are the 3 factories where we are currently making our cars, and already the capacity is to the level of 50,000, which at an annual level means about 600,000. This new capacity that got added by acquisition of the Ford plant in Sanand, that further adds to about 300,000, which can be further expanded to 420,000. So roughly, we are pretty much, as far as capacity is concerned, closer to 1 million mark, both PV and EV included. Right now, since we are in the Generation 1 EVs, and now we'll be rolling out the Generation 2 EVs, just to clarify and explain what is the Generation 1, Generation 2 EV. These are more converted products. As you have seen, the Nexon got converted to an EV, then Tiago got converted to an EV. The base platform is the ICE vehicle, which is getting converted. In Gen 2, we go for more intrusive modifications in the architecture so that then it can be further electrified with higher range cars. The Generation 3 cars will be the pure EVs. So therefore, the Generation 1 and Generation 2 car pretty much share a lot of common parts and the common facility with the ICE vehicles also. So we have a lot of flexibility in the 6 lakh capacity that we have in the existing plant to make a lot of EVs there. And when we start the new facility in Sanand, which is the Ford factory that we have bought in the Tata Passenger Electric Mobility entity, This will also make ICE vehicles to start with, so that we utilize the plant faster. And also EVs in any case are being made in the other 3 plants also. But if I talk about the end state, yes, this factory would, I believe, would be doing mostly electric vehicles going forward. But that's the capacity picture.
Okay, so at this point in time, no need to add further greenfield capacity. You have enough capacity at hand. Let me ask you, Shailesh, since we are talking about electric mobility and your EV plans and Generation 3 product line specifically, there have been a lot of reports and speculation that you are in the market to raise more money. 2021, we already saw that billion-dollar investment coming in at a valuation of over $9 billion. Can you confirm whether you are looking at further minority stake sale to raise money at this point in time to fund the electric mobility plans?
So Shireen, I would not be able to comment on that speculation, but as you know that a year back we had already raised 1 billion and the whole funding got closed a month back or so. So we are, for the current few years, we are pretty well funded. Anything beyond that is a comment I would like to only offer at the right time. But at this stage, I have nothing to talk about on that speculation.
Okay, so let me piece together what you have said. A, you don't want to comment on speculation on whether you are looking to raise further money, but you also said that at this point in time, you are well funded after having raised that $1 billion that you did in 2021. So would it be fair to say that this is not something that's on the anvil, or not something that the company is actively looking at or considering at this point in time?
That's an interesting one, but I must say that I said that we are well funded for next 2 to 3 years. There are many other ways of raising the fund, including debt route, but we are absolutely open to going any additional route, and anything is possible. So therefore, I would not like to say yes or no, but from us, any formal comment on that will come at the right time, is what I would say.
Okay, so neither yes nor no, but of course that leaves the door and the windows open for all options, as you point out. But Shailesh, let's talk about demand now, and let's also talk about the product pipeline. What can we expect now in terms of demand? The commentary coming in from your peer, for instance, from Maruti, suggests that a 5 to 7% growth in FY24 is possible for the industry, given the fact that we're now in an era and an environment of higher interest rates, etc. What's your own expectation?
Yeah, I would definitely concur to a single-digit growth that we expect next year. Remember that it was a exceptionally good year, which was FY23, which we might see nearly 75% growth in this particular financial year. If you remember, last financial year it was at a level of 3.05 million. We should be ending this financial year at about 3.8. So a lot of pent-up demand which was sitting in the market has got released. The supplies have been stable. The semiconductor crisis that we had faced in FY22, that was not seen to that extent in FY23, except for few components here and there. So a very good supply and therefore release of pent-up demand now leaves less scope of a double-digit growth, I would say, next financial year. Actually, retail would be, I would reckon, about 3.7 million this year, so 100,000 less, which would mean that even the channel inventory is going to be slightly higher than where we started at the start of FY23. So I would also concur that, greater than 5% growth would be, I would say, still a good one, given that it would be touching nearly 4 million, which is a very strong market, I would say, gives a lot of opportunities to all the OEMs.
Yes, but single digit is what you are expecting, in line with what your peers have also said. Let's talk about the EV pipeline as well as the launch pipeline then, Shailesh. What can we expect in calendar year 23? The expectation is that we could see the Punch out in September. Lay out for us what the roadmap is as far as launches and the EV pipeline specifically.
We have made a statement that in 5-year period, now actually 4 years, last year we had made the statement, we would be coming with 10 products, and the distribution of 10 products were 4 generation 1, 4 generation 2 and maybe 2 generation 3 product. We have already launched the 4 generation 1 product. Tiago EV was the last conversion product. Now we are going to start with series of Generation 2 products. Some of them we showcased in the Auto Expo. If you see the Sierra or if you see the Safari EV that we, Harrier EV that we had shown, or the Curve EV that we had shown in April 22. I think these are the products which are going to come in the next, I would say, 2 years time frame till FY25. We'll have all these products. There are a few more additional products which might come. Punch EV is definitely one of them, and I would not like to confirm a date on that, but yes, the intention would be that in the foreseeable future, and say by 2024 we should be able to bring that vehicle. But at this stage I won't confirm the date till we have progressed to a stage that we can confirm the launch.
Just on specific deals as well, there has of course been the announcement that Tata Motors has made with Uber, and that is a partnership that you will supply 25,000 EVs for the Uber fleet network. Are we likely to see similar sort of transactions, similar deals that you are working on currently? And if you can also lay out for us what the timelines will be in terms of being able to supply Uber with these 25,000 electric vehicles.
See, fleet is a very interesting segment for electric mobility. As you know, even government has always set their vision to first electrify the fleet mobility services, because it helps in catering to more people who use one single car, and therefore it has a very good impact on the reduction of carbon footprint. And we are one of the only players in this segment who's providing cars in the electric vehicle segment. In this category, we have seen primarily the cars being used for employee transport by the MNCs and IT companies for ferrying their employees from home to office and vice versa, or the new age mobility services, e-hailing companies. You have seen our earlier MOUs with Blue Smart, EV Era, and these kind of companies. So there has been a decent level of business that we were already doing with these fleet operators. We would have about sold more than 5,000 cars already in this segment, and now we have signed an MOU with Uber, which is the biggest ride-hailing company, as we know, among the largest. So they have an intention of doing 25,000 cars. They don't buy, as you know, they mostly attach the cars, so they will be working with various fleet operators whom we also have a very deep relationship with, about 40-50 of such big fleet operators. And over a period of, I would say, 24 months to 30 months, they would be targeting to deploy these 25,000 vehicles. From a capacity perspective, we are absolutely fine. We can cater to at whatever rate the fleet segment would require us to supply.
Shailesh, you spoke about the fleet opportunity, but what about the replacement opportunity? The budget, for instance, had talked about the need for both the central government as well as incentivizing states to actually go in for replacing older vehicles. I would imagine that many would consider electric vehicles as possibly an option, but are there any active conversations on at either the state government level or the central government level in terms of the replacement opportunity? How do you foresee that opening up?
I think it's a very big opportunity. There are hundreds of thousands of vehicles in the government that are running, and we have had some initial conversations, and the mood that we saw was to replace these cars with electric cars, and therefore it's a big opportunity. I would say that it might take few more months before we get full clarity in terms of how this is going to really get implemented and enforced. And I think we should be able to comment on this in the next 3-4 months. But the intention of government clearly seems to be to move towards electric mobility as far as these replacement of these cars are concerned.
I understand that the conversations perhaps are preliminary at this point in time, but can you share with us any details on what the arrangement is likely to be? What we saw previously was the EESL move tenders, and we saw the problems that plagued that particular route and that particular tendering process. So what What should we expect? Where do the conversations lie in terms of how this is going to pan out, how it's going to work?
Yeah, Shireen, so that part is still not clear. I think the earlier model of the government was to source it through ESL, through wet lease or dry lease both. But still, as far as what got announced in the union budget, this modality is still not clear. Certain, government departments at times, come with their own tenders. So we'll have to see. It might be a mix of both, possibly. Certain government departments might go with ESL, or they might float a tender on their own. We'll have to look and we'll have to wait and watch, I would say.
Okay, that's as far as the replacement opportunity is concerned. You said modality is still awaited from the central government. But Shailesh, let me understand from you what the challenges currently are in the marketplace that you observe. One, of course, is, as I pointed out, interest rates. Are you seeing that having a bearing on buying decisions as of today? Some of the other challenges with respect to semiconductor shortages, etc., have started to alleviate. So what, to your mind, are the big challenges that you are factoring in or gearing up to face?
I would say that before FY23, the 2 financial years prior to that were a phase of great uncertainty, I would say. One was mostly on the supply side, where demand was extremely robust, but that supply-demand gap led to a lot of pent-up demand, and therefore, there was a lot of urgency in the customers that we saw in that phase. As the supplies have been very stable in the last 1 year, I would say 4 quarters or 5 quarters, and now the cars, most of the regular cars, I would say, except for some of the very popular cars where still there is a waiting period, there's lack of urgency in the customers. So it takes more time to convert a car from an inquiry stage to retail. So that time seems to have got elongated a bit. There's lack of urgency. So that's one observation I would have. But the demand still remains strong. I would say demand level is strong. The time it takes to convert into retail has got a bit longer. On the supply side, as far as semiconductor is concerned, there were so many components which used to face shortages on semiconductor, and there was frantic buy of semiconductors from the open market, distributors, paying premium for those semiconductors. I think that has got elevated a lot. There are only few components that you face problem even and often, and that's it. But broadly, I would say it is in control. Off late, there has been a stress in some 1 or 2 critical components. But so far, we have not got impacted. Let us see how things would be in April, but at least for March, we don't see any issue. But April, we'll have to continue and watch for those 3-4 critical components, I would say.
Okay, so there needs to be a watchful eye, a vigil as far as 3-4 semiconductor components are concerned. But Shailesh, before I let you go, Q3 numbers swinging back into profits after 7 quarters. Do you believe that you're going to be able to continue to build on that performance, both in terms of profitability and margins?
I'm sure. I think, also all the 3 businesses in Tata Motors, commercial vehicle, passenger vehicle, India, as well as JLR, all are doing well. The semiconductor crisis, which was really impacting JLR a lot, that is also seeing improvements. So broadly, I think we should be able to sustain and improve from here is what I would imagine. But we have to be cautiously watching on the supply side also.
All right, Shailesh Chandra, we will leave it there. Appreciate you joining us here on CNBC-TV18 on the record. Thanks very much for your time. Congratulations once again on the 5 million milestone, and we wish you and your team at Tata Motors the very best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you, Shri.
Well, that's it then on this edition of On the Record. There's a lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a minute with more.